Sir, let us start with your initial and formative years. You did your engineering from COEP,
Right.
MTech and PhD from IIT Mumbai. You were a bright student throughout, and you must have had a lot of lucrative offers back then to go out of India. Tell us something about that. Why didn't you accept those? And looking back, do you have any regrets?
The first offer I got was from the French government when I was doing my PhD. The topic was mathematical modeling, and I was looking for a complex system like river water quality to model. And there was a MOU between IIT and French government that they wanted to have a mathematical model of a Seine river, which is the river of Paris. So I made my presentation, and the team which had come, they accepted it, they liked it, and I was invited to Paris for 1 year. It was a lucrative offer, but I rejected it because I wanted to complete my PhD as early as possible, and a 1 year project gap would have been, would have not liked it. Then the second offer was after my PhD defense, the examiner was from Canada, Dr. Satsangi, and he also invited me that let us do some postdoc. By that time, it was clear to me that I am going to be in the teaching line. So that life goal was fixed, that I will be a teacher and I won't join the industry. So that way, the lucrative offers of high salary, big package, and joining some big company was not there. It was not a choice for me. And teaching elsewhere, I would have preferred always Pune and nearby things. Maybe a Puneite, and that's why I want to come back. But then offers inside India were also there. I was called in Delhi IIT to join with my MTech guide as a professor of control systems. But then I rejected that also, and I tried to look for something near Pune. Finally, I landed up in COEP, my own college, and that way I could manage both my Prabodhini work as well as COEP. So the main reason for rejection could be I wanted to be near Prabodhini after a gap of 7 years and wanted to come back to Prabodhini to start the earlier activities of youth wing and organization. And that's why I think I rejected those. Not much of a other reason for that. No regrets, obviously. The only regrets could be when we started working on civil service UPSC examination. Myself and Savita, we could make out that both of us have a science and engineering background, and whole of UPSC business is about humanities. And still we are a little diffident about political science, economics concepts when we read current events. So the regret is I might have shifted my PhD to humanities and done something in maybe political science or sociology, but then I could do some reading to compensate for that. So no regrets, and no lucrative offers also in that sense.
Yes. Right, that's great. So you did not pursue the big American dream, and as you said, maybe once a Punite, always a Punite. So what were your formative years like? Tell us about the defining moments in IIT and when you joined JPP in the 9th standard.
Defining moments, joining JPP was a defining moment because that time Pune was very different. The way we say ki city of pensioners, it was very quiet, and we used to go for excursions outside Pune to Parvati or Vittalwadi, which are now integral part of Pune. So I grew up in a Vada Sanskruti. So we used to be very close in our house. That time also I used to participate in sports, lots of festivals, and then in the Budhwarpet of Pune, we had a Bal Ganesh Mandal which I used to lead. But then when I entered Prabodhini, it was like widening of the horizons. I could get to know about the national issues. I could get to know about there has to be some purpose in life. And then if you have the intelligence, you have to contribute to the society. The concept was trusteeship. I have inherited intelligence from somewhere, it is not mine, and I need to give back to the society. That's what Appa used to tell. So that was a defining moment joining Prabodhini. From the sense of leadership, the defining moment could be after 1 year in Prabodhini, I joined in 9th standard. When I went to 10th standard, we had a house system in Prabodhini. And in Prabodhini, there were 4 houses, Ramdas, Dayananda, Vivekananda, Arvinda. We used to call that Pathaka Dhipati. And I was made captain of the Dayananda house. and I was in 10th standard, and under me there were 11th and 12th standard boys. And I don't know why that trust was shown by Appa or Sharad Sunkar was the Yuvak Sachiv that time. And I was the only house captain of 10th standard. All others were 11th and 12th standard house captains. So there, that time I felt that actually I can lead a group which is more in age than me, and there could be some qualities in me. So that is a defining moment, leading the Dayananda Pathak throughout that year of 10th standard. Otherwise, I was a bit, you can say, backstage person. I don't like to be very much visible, but I could lead from the front because in sports also I had the experience of leading from the front. I used to play so many sports. So that opportunity was a defining moment. In IIT, I spent around 7 years, but those 7 years, they actually defined, or they actually gave me a lot of opportunity to explore things, to know people, to know other cultures, because students from all over India used to come there, and working with them, counseling them, leading them was a different experience. So that could be one defining moment.
Let us talk about futurology now. So futurology is an interesting subject and still not, I mean, a lot of people don't really know about it. So you have been a pioneer for futurology techniques and studies in Nyan Prabodhini and its different entities. And I believe it's still carried out while planning,
Yes,
making
definitely.
plans, 5-year plans, 10-year plans.
Right.
So tell us what got you interested in this and how did you implement it in all of the entities over here?
Actually, before going to IIT or during IIT, I could read a lot because I was a postgraduate student, not much of a work, was getting stipend, so could afford to buy books. And the first book that brought me into this was Future Shock by Alvin Toffler. And he has written many more books. It's a series of books actually. But I was interested in, you must have heard of Animal Farm or 1984, which were the books of the future, what will happen to human race in future. And I was really very much interested in that. In some sense, I am a technical person, so I am not very passionate about history as such. I don't get much thrilled by history, but I used to read a lot of science fiction. In our Prabodhini library, when Mr. Elijah has donated number of science fiction books, and there is the concept of time travel, then you look ahead and what will happen to future societies. So that was also very exciting reading for me, and hence I got interested. And when CBSE actually created a syllabus for futurology, we jumped onto that, and then we started futurology projects for the 10th standard in Prabodhini, and from day one I started guiding those projects to that class. And it was a very learning and interesting experience for me as well as boys also. And the syllabus was developed year by year. Slowly we picked up various important points in that, and then that syllabus got ready. I did a course in Hyderabad also for CBSE teachers. In 1994, after we started futurology, there were many senior resource persons of Prabodhini, like Dr. Ashok Nirfarake, Ananta Abhanga. They used to think about these books and read a lot. So we thought that in Prabodhini also we should make a perspective plan. And the director, Dr. Girish Bapat, he was also for it, and hence a 20 years plan was prepared. Then we had a 10 years plan, and presently we have a third, we call it Bhavitavya Lake. So third perspective plan or the futuristic vision of Prabodhini. For that we had to train all our Karyakartas a lot, because it's not a general attitude that you look into the future. Astrology is something very different. So that way people are interested in understanding their own individual future. But collectively, corporate people used to do that. They have a perspective plan. But a voluntary organization like Prabodhini, making a perspective plan was a unique thing. And we trained a lot of people. We used to go for log frames and theory of change and result-based management techniques. And in fact, in Perspective Plan 3, about 200 JPNs, they participated from all the centers and various departments. There is a Tattva Saptak in Prabodhini. And my argument is that we need to add an eighth principle to that, which could be a futuristic attitude, Bhavishyon Mukhata. So every Prabodhinian should look at the future, because it's a sentence by Toffler that it is wiser to anticipate future and learn from that rather than trying to learn from the history, because unprecedented changes are happening, and world is like COVID happened. It is a black swan event. So such events are bound to happen in more numbers, more frequently, with more intensity in future. And for that, anticipating future is a must for any entity, from individual to organizations. So I think it has taken roots, and I am very happy about that in Prabodhini also.
Right. So, I mean, you made a pertinent point that there should be a futuristic attitude
Yes.
and approach, and considering all the disruptions happening today. So, what has been your most treasured experience and role, if you would
Yeah.
like to?
As I said that basically there are different aspects of leadership, and when we talk about leadership, we get to see the leaders who are visible, who have a charisma and who actually appeal to the masses. They have a good oratory skills. I don't have these things actually, and in that sense I won't prefer to be a leader also of the masses. My style will be working backstage with teams and to facilitate their leadership and bring them in the front. So with that idea, actually, I would say that the various activities that I did in various fields, uh, I could mentor a lot of leaders, and that could be my style of leadership. For example, when I joined engineering college as a teacher, I started a group called Prachiti. And in Prachiti, we said that you have to go for careers which are socially meaningful, even if you are engineers. Then we spread to BZ Medical College, then we went to other colleges also. And working on national issues and working with a angle of leadership of various types was the aim of Prachiti. So that was one thing. Then I had actually, that time we used to speak that there are 5 ways in which you can contribute to the country in a meaningful way. The first was you become a mentor of leaders, which I chose for myself. And through Prachiti, through JP alumni, and through our competitive examination center, we try to give good leaders to the country by facilitating their process, by mentoring some of them. But that is the first thing, maybe 100%. Next to that, 99% could be you need to lead a region. For example, we got the concept of Shiva Pradesh, the region of 4 forts, Simhagad, Torna, Rajgad and Purandar, where Prabodhini was working in river valleys, and try to bring a comprehensive good development of that region. And people are working on that, still they are working, and we had a group on Shiva Pradesh also. Next could be you take one national issue and work on that at a scale in a big region. So that example we set by starting sugar schools for the migrant children. They were seasonal schools, and then it was taken up by the government, and throughout Maharashtra we had thousands of students learning in those seasonal schools. So that is the third kind of leadership, that you take up a national issue and work on it on a scale. Then you can go for maybe generating employment. So becoming a entrepreneur is also a role of leadership. And lastly, it was the media persons. We wanted Prachiti students to become media persons because media has a good influence on people. They prepare their opinions. So as opinion makers, they are also leaders in some respect. So these were the different leadership concepts that we developed in Prachiti. And in that sense, I think I could work, and I am satisfied that many of the students of Prabodhini, of our examination center and Prachiti, they are into various roles of such leaderships.
So you have, I mean, all the examples which you told us right now definitely are great examples of thought leadership. And as you said, your forte has been mentoring
Right.
people to become leaders. Right. So, what has been your motivation in working relentlessly on multiple areas?
There are theories of motivation. They talk about 3 types of motivation. In fact, in Prabodhini, we were taught about these theories, that there is a power motivation, there is a achievement motivation, there is a affiliation motivation. My motivation is more of affiliation type. So I feel for the people, and especially the vulnerables. And that, I think, motivated me, and hence the national issues that we selected were also working with the vulnerables. In fact, Prabodhini's first perspective plan had a tagline that will try to increase the self-respect of downtrodden people. So that way we developed a number of activities in orphans, in tribal people, in migrants, in slum areas of cities, etc. So that is the real source of motivation that I feel for the people, and that affiliation brings the action into my routine. But if you say inspiration, in that case, if I need to name the people, of course, that was a defining moment I joined Prabodhini, and the most important person was obviously Appa Pense. Though I was in IIT, when I used to come to Pune, I first used to come to Prabodhini and then used to go to my home. And that time, if he's around, he used to come down and we used to have a good chat. And he wanted to work, wanted me to work in Sangli district as a organizational person there. But then all my other teachers, the seniors in Prabodhini, they were the source of inspiration. Yashwantrao Lele, he was my principal. Vaman Rao Abhyankar, he went to Nigdi later. He was my principal. Then Anna Tamankar and Lata Tai, who worked in Solapur Harali. Usha Tai, still at the age of 90, is working and thinking about the future of Prabodhini. So all these people, they really were the inspiration. But motivation wise, I find that I like intellectual stimulation. And that's why I was not very comfortable with engineering, because you can always see and you can know the technology. But complex systems are in fact social, political, economic systems. And the issues of the country are into these systems. So working on those issues also gives me intellectual stimulation. And that also, I think, is a source of motivation to work on complex issues.
Tell us something about your interest areas and which are your favorite books on these areas.
Interest areas, as I said, was any complex system stimulates me intellectually also. And since complex systems deal with poor people and vulnerable sections, my affiliation motivation also comes into play. So that way, I think uh, I read a lot, and in IIT I got a lot of time. Even in Prodhini also, library, there are a number of books. So science fiction I like a lot, and there they think about future, and there are certain things where they bring science and society, even science and spiritualism together, and that used to trigger me. I used to like that. But if you say books, that time there were many translations of Russian books from Tolstoy or Chekhov or other people, and they were excellent books. And it was a different culture, and somehow I got a interest in that culture also. So I used to read a lot of Russian books. Whenever I used to feel down, I read either Richard Bach, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and other books, or P.G. Woodhouse. So he is such a great comedian, in fact better than Pula Deshpande. Pune people won't like that, but the plots are very interesting, and P.G. Woodhouse really turns me around if I am feeling a bit low. Uh, Consciousness and other things you said. So cosmology is another subject which I am interested in, and there George Gamow is famous. Then there is one person called Michio Kaku. He has written good books, and there are many scientists who have written popular books. So that also interests me. But consciousness, I have read, rather than read, I have listened to various lectures and TED talks, and not one book as such. But Indian mythology talks a lot about consciousness, but somehow I have not related much with that. But the modern psychology and modern concepts of consciousness through science, that attracts me more.
People like Osho or Sadhguru in current times. So do you follow these?
No, no.
No.
That way I am a bit agnostic person and atheist also. So I don't need, faith is healing, I know, but I don't believe in such type of faith.
Okay.
So they are good people and they are telling good things to youth, so I appreciate that. But I don't follow any of these cults like Vipassana or Sadhguru or even Art of Living and these things.
What do you like to do in your free time? I mean, do you take breaks? I think you travel a lot or used to travel a lot. And adding on to that question, what gives you the most joy?
Intellectual stimulation is a must for me, and whatever gives that, complex systems, theories of consciousness, I do that, though Savita will not like it. She wants some chat on the lighter side. But I keep thinking about things, understand the universe. In fact, there is a very good sentence by another of my favorite author. He is also a scientist, a Nobel laureate, Norbert Weinberg. He has written the book about first 3 minutes. When the Big Bang happened, how the world developed, evolved in the first 3 minutes. Excellent book, very technical but still very readable also. His last sentence I always quote. He used to say that effort to understand the universe is one of the few things which lifts human life above the level of farce and gives it some of the grace of tragedy. So human life could either be farce or tragedy. You have to decide what you prefer, and if you try to understand the universe, at least you get a graceful tragedy rather than a farcical life. I don't agree with these only two choices. You can always add meaning to your life, but understanding universe is my pastime, either through reflection, through reading, through whatever. That gives me a good stimulation also. But traveling, the way we have created networks, and there are so many students spread all over India, abroad also. I don't have a passport. I did not renew it after I came back from IIT. And then we need to travel to all corners of the country and maybe visit at least 5-6 states every year. That much traveling is expected or should be done. But I am not a very fond of traveling. So in comparison to the need, we do a lot less in my opinion. But once we go out actually and when we meet people, I enjoy it a lot. And then we have created a good bonding in various networks. So traveling really helps us, it recharges us, but there has to be some initiative from outside. I need to be forced to travel. That is my style, you can say.
You have initiated and put into action many meaningful and diverse work areas. As Dr. Papense had said, filling up colors on an empty canvas. So, how challenging and satisfying it has been?
Satisfying, obviously. I would go for that first because definitely if something really happens on the field, it's very satisfying. And when we get the responses of people and those who actually need such support, it's extremely satisfying. So all the different activities I had done through Prachiti or through Prabodhini or through competitive examination center, they are very satisfying. They are challenging in the sense, I would say, most of them were started from scratch, and most of the sectors were such that I did not have any background in that. For example, primary education of the migrants, and I am an engineer by qualification. So I entered that field and I collected people around me, and I got resource persons who can help me, and then we worked on the sugar school project for the migrant children. Even as I told you, okay, I don't know anything about polity and economics. I have never been taught constitution, and all our students, they are basically with these 2, 3, 4 humanities subjects, but both of us entered the competitive examinations coaching, and with process oriented mentoring we could do that. So challenging thing is that I like to do something from scratch. So I would not like to inherit something and then carry on with that. So that type of challenge actually maybe stimulates me or likes it. So it was challenging because I was entering unknown territories and I was starting from scratch, different activities that I started.